Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I want to share with you how I came to have the ministry name of Do What Dad Does, or DWDD. This video thing is always backwards on my laptop and I never do a great job with it. So at the end of 2014, in just a wonderful intimate time with Yahweh, he asked me clearly, do you remember WWJD? And it was in the 90s. And I said, yeah, I clearly remember it. And it was a time when people were motivated to wear wristbands and other marketing materials, whether shirts or cups. It was pretty popular, maybe even billboards, and it was everywhere in the 90s around the country, and it was good. I remember thinking about it and asking myself, daily at times, how should I act? What would Jesus do so I can act like Jesus, because I want to be a good Christian. But Yahweh went and asked me again, do you remember that phrase? And do you remember that it was a question? I said, yeah. And then he told me, I want you to give them the answer. And it was kind of interesting, but it really got me thinking, and I just take my time when I'm talking with Dad to listen and ponder and not quickly let my first thoughts lead me, because that is something with spiritual maturity that I learned was very, very valuable, is to watch your initial response to a lot of things in life. Communication, emotions, activities around you, everywhere. And it has proved so beneficial. But it was a great step in the maturing process as a Christian, to catch my initial response to things and pause and process them through my spirit man, and come up with the best answer, the best response that I could. Instead of the flesh being first, let the spirit lead. So that was great. So I pondered it and I thought, it's like, okay, that was a question. And no one really responded with a specific answer, that maybe we didn't even need one. But he gave it to me and he said, I want you to present this answer to that question, and it's going to be, what would Jesus do? And he clearly took me right to the scriptures where the life of Jesus says, point blank, Jesus said, I only do what I see my Father do. And that was it. It went on to be, Jesus saying, I only speak what I hear my Father speak. And that is foundational to my life now, and to this outreach, and to my ability to helping others, come to terms with, where they're at in their Christian life and their walk. And, ask yourself, any day, how am I doing? Am I becoming more like Christ? Are the things that he lived on this earth, am I living out? Is the success or influence or salvation or spiritual prosperity that he accomplished, am I accomplishing it? How much are we really becoming like Christ? And for the longest time, I wasn't becoming like him at all. I was way off. But I'm getting there, and I'm making some great progress. But to think about what would Jesus do, and to know that he only does what he sees his Father do, and only speaks what he hears his Father speaking, was huge. And that's what it came to. WWJD is now DWDD. It's all about doing what Dad does. And it's huge that as we grow as Christians, that we spiritually can continue to mature and grow up. And I really have got a handle on that now. And that's how this ministry got its name, Do What Dad Does. DoWhatDadDoes.com or DWDD.org. And I love it. I think it's real sweet and real tender and real intimate for God to share that with me, and for me now to share that with you. So, my goal in this, I've shared it many times, is to be a fathering spirit. I'm not a teacher. I'd rather bring a fathering spirit to those around me and help others see that if we could come into that intimacy with God the Father, if we can find those tender moments, intimacy, into me see, if we can get there through Jesus Christ to get us home to Dad and know that He is crazy about us, He loves us, and He is thinking about us, and He wants us close to Him, and if we can manifest that intimate relationship, it really changes everything. It's so much more than just Christianity in Jesus Christ and the Spirit. It is the true Trinity. I believe it's everything Jesus Christ came to earth to live for. I think of the time in the garden, the night before Jesus was crucified, and the fact that He was just tortured emotionally at the thought of the death. And I think that the hardest and the heaviest part that maybe had Him sweating drops of blood was the fact that He knew that this crucifixion, this death that He was ready and willing to take on, He knew that for a moment, a short time, it was going to cause Him to be separated from His Dad, from His Father in heaven. It's true, sin separates us from God. When Jesus was on the cross and He took our sins, He hung there and said, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? And he had that moment when God had to turn away. And I think that was the biggest struggle and the biggest pain and the hardest part of going to the cross, was that He knew for a moment that had to be done. But He loved His Father, and He was so intimate and in such oneness with Him that just broke His heart. And that has meant so much to me, and I think it's one of the greatest stories in the Bible. And when we can continue to get to that point through Christ, to see what He lived for, to see how He wants us in oneness with God the Father and Himself, but He wants that more than anything. He wants us to know Him. In John 14, 15, and 16, He talks about the Father 51 times. And I think it's 51 more in all of the books of John. You look at the Old Testament, and the Father is not spoken about less than 50 times in the whole Old Testament. But in John, it's talked about so much, the final days of Jesus' life. And if it was your final days on this earth, what would you want your closest people in life to know? What would you want your family to know? What would be the most important thing? That you love them and you care about them and you always will. Well, right before Jesus was going to die, He shared the most important thing with His followers. And that was He wanted us to know the Father, know the Father, know the Father, know Him. He said, I gave you a new commandment, to love one another. A new one. I've been with you 3 years, and now you're going to tell us about loving each other? There's so much more I'll talk about later on, but it's just one of the best parts about the life of Christ, and it's why I'm here, to help you see that to receive the Spirit of the Father is so precious, so valuable, so needed, and we need more of it. We need to raise up more fathers, and I'm proud to be one of them. I'm going to do my best, and I hope you like it. But I love you, and I'm here for you, and it's going to be good.